Today I want to explain something that most people don't realize about Renee Good's murder and the false narrative that our government is pushing. We need to understand that it does not matter if the government's narrative is convincing or plausible, or even if it contradicts video evidence, because that's not how propaganda usually works. Most people assume that propaganda works because the believers of that propaganda are gullible or ignorant, and that if concrete evidence exists, even the most gullible or ignorant people will see the truth. But that's not really the case. And the reason for that is because of a very well-documented effect in cognitive psychology called the illusory truth effect, which refers to the fact that when a claim is repeated enough times, it starts to feel familiar. And over time, familiarity can be misread by the brain as truth. And the power of this effect has nothing to do with how persuasive or evidence-based a claim is. It comes from the fact that the human brain treats familiar information as more reliable than unfamiliar information, even when the unfamiliar information is more accurate. And the reason this effect works is because it exploits a basic feature of how our brains evolved. Our brains evolved to conserve energy and to make quick judgments in environments where repeated information was usually reliable. Things like familiar faces, familiar paths, and familiar sounds all tended to be useful and relevant information. Because of this, familiarity eventually became a useful shortcut for determining what could be trusted. And research has confirmed and extended this finding across contexts, time periods, and methodologies. Statements that are repeated even just 2 times are later judged as more truthful than statements that are heard only once. And this occurs even when people start out knowing that a statement is false. Understanding the illusory truth effect is important because it clarifies what propaganda is all about. It isn't about convincing the gullible or ignorant. It's about repeating a narrative enough times that it feels like truth, and that it does not matter if there's video evidence directly contradicting that narrative. So how can we push back against this? One way is by trying to avoid sharing video clips and headlines that restate the false narrative. Even when we're sharing it to debunk the information, we're unintentionally increasing the familiarity of that narrative and thereby increasing the sense that it is true. This may feel counterintuitive, especially in moments of anger or urgency, but familiarity is doing more work to convince people of propaganda than most of us realize.